Todd, Molly, great to see you. Come in, have a seat. Let's get started.
Thanks for seeing us.
Hey, no problem. All right, so Todd and Molly, last time we were here, I heard that you two had some questions and concerns about potential problems that might arise in your marriage in the future, considering the fact that marriages have changed a lot over time. In a survey that was posted on the Huffington Post on July 22nd, in 2013, about 51% of people were married, which is down from about 70% of people that were married in the 1960s. And in a subsequent statistic that was in Freakonomics, which is a movie that was made in 2010, around 63% of those marriages end in divorce. I am a certified expert in this field, as is my colleague, Dr. Casas.
Hello.
And as we all have probably been in a relationship, I think that it's important that we talk about some things. Over time, the marriage gender roles have drastically changed. And when I mean over time, I mean probably over the last century or so. Today, we're going to talk about how the marriage structure has changed over time, and we're going to focus in on three specific periods. We're going to focus in on the 1920s, the 1950s, and modern day marriage, and hopefully we can help you to address some of the problems you think you might have. So I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Dr. Casas, who's going to talk about marriage gender roles in the 1920s.
Hello, Molly. Hello, Todd. My name is Mr. Casas. He said, I'm an expert in 1920s marriage history, and I will be detailing the history about that. So according to my source that I visited on May 2nd, called Marriages in the 1920s, in the 1920s, women were expected to do a few things. They were expected to stay home, watch the children. They were expected to cook. They were expected to clean. They were also expected to be married by the late teens. And yet, around that same time, according to the same article, due to the 1920s, the 19th Amendment, which was the right for women to vote, that actually helped women and gained them more freedom. They were able to increase their employment opportunities, and as well, the right to vote also added to their independence. Now, according to another source written by Tibet that I visited on May 1st, called Sanctuary, Marriage, and the Status of Women in the 1920s America, my predecessor, William Ogburn, who was also an expert in marriage of his time, which was in the 1920s, he is quoted stating that he is stated saying that couples who are married should share the resources of a marriage, not just be one-sided, as in that the man should be in control of the wealth. He also stated that it should be the prime principle to establish a democratic household that values equality between the sexes. Also, my other predecessors, like William Ogburn and others of the 1920s thinkers, were explicit in the demise of traditional marriages. They believed that it was unnecessary and that it was kind of an event. It was going to happen either way. They believed that it was times were changing and that there was destined to die, the traditions of marriage. They also believed that it was something nice for women, changing times. And thanks to the 1920s, when women won the right to vote, they also had something new, which was the ability to be able to date before marriage. They were able to go out and get to meet guys, which was nice because up until then, they were mostly just like sold away or married away, and they rarely got to know who it was that they were going to be with for the rest of their life. And my predecessors, they greatly criticized that way of life because they believed that it was hypocritical of social norms to dictate that it was more important the chastity of women overall the chastity of men. And that is all for me, and I will.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Now, Todd, that's a lot to take in. What are your thoughts on this? I want to know.
Now, I know one's like a 20s guy, but my mind's really in the 50s. You know, I asked my mom about, you know, her marriage and everything like that, you know, the do's and don'ts. I asked my mom, Elizabeth Delgado, on May 2nd, 2015, how it was back in her day, which happened to be the 50s as well. She said, you know, her mom always had a home-cooked meal. You know, there wasn't really anything else out there, so she would always cook the meal, and she'd take care of the kids and everything like that. When she was growing up and dating everything like that, they just did drive-ins and stuff like that. There were no legit movie theaters or anything like that, so you just take your car up and do something like that. My dad worked pretty early in the morning, which was common for men in the 50s. So she would clean and take care of the kids and everything like that, pretty typical of the times. She was a stay-at-home mom until I was 12, and speaking from experience, I loved it because she was always there, and you know, she was always, you know, taking care of me. It was nice. I was talking to her, and then she also brought up the fact that she had an article from a book, and it was also from the 50s. It was also an old econ book. It was written by Helen Anderlin, and I looked at it May 2nd of 2015. The article was about home economics and everything like that, and had a list, and she circled one of the things on the list. It was a top 10 list about home economics and 10 things to know about womanhood. And she circled number 7, you should be happy to see your man when he comes in. And I asked her, you know, why'd you do number 7? There's a couple other things in here that's kind of weird, but she's just like, well, if I'm not happy to see him, then why would I have kids with him, you know? But anyways, which brings me back to kids. You know, one day I want to have kids and everything, but, you know, if we were to have kids, you know, I work full-time, and then I also try to, you know, get another job, but it's going to be pretty difficult for me to have, you know, be with the kids. I was kind of hoping that you would be a stay-at-home mom, kind of like my mom was, you know, and then take care of the kids or something like that. That's just my thoughts.
So Molly, there's a lot of information floating around. What's your take on it?
Well, I also talked to my mom, and she said that while she used to also be a stay-at-home mom, but she's recently gone back to work, and she's felt a lot more empowered within herself. And my parents are still married, so it shows that her going back to work hasn't really changed their marriage too much. And I talked to her on April 29th. And on April 29th, again, I looked at an article by John Hawkins on townhall.com. He said one of the things about modern marriage is women's increased economic opportunity. Women no longer have to live in their husband's shadows and have to stay at home and do all these things for them while they're off living their lives at work or out with friends. I mean, today we see many families with 2-income households. Many wives work. They share responsibility, like cooking and cleaning. There's also stay-at-home fathers, and wives are the breadwinners. And more women to actually keep their own last name. I don't have to just be Mrs. Todd Delgado, but I can be my own individual self too. I see
you have an apron. Would you care to explain?
Yeah, Todd got this for me as a gift. And though it's a nice gesture,
please continue.
I'm just so mad. Though it's a nice gesture, it symbolizes a lot more after hearing Todd speak about the 1950s and his true thoughts. It feels like this is more of a nice gesture towards me being this perfect housewife you. And obviously your mom wants that too. And I'm not. I don't mind cooking and cleaning, but it isn't all that I'm useful for. I'm not your mom, I'm your wife. Yes, I have plenty of concerns about our marriage. That statistic you gave about divorce scares me. I mean, what's any married person's worst fear? Their soulmate or partner ending up to be someone they never thought they were. I'm not saying that our marriage is doomed, but I worry that we have some different ideas on roles that we will both play in marriage.
Okay. Well, I'm glad to hear you say that. It sounds like you might be a little bit upset, so I drew you a picture so you can enjoy that.
Is this
Right.
what you spent your time doing?
It was.
While we were speaking?
I was not writing down what was being said in this meeting because I don't need to. Okay. But anyways, we're running a little bit short on time, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap it up by saying we've discussed what it was like in the 1920s and the 1950s as well as modern day. And I think that this is going to be helpful when you two look at what you want out of your marriage. I would wish you two the best of luck, and I hope that your marriage turns out to be everything that you hoped it to be. But for now, we're out of time. So, yeah, I'm sorry.
Alrighty then.
Is there something else that you wanted to discuss before we left?
I guess we're fine.
You're fine? Okay, well, you can go. We're done. All right, see you next